Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our bottom left-hand side Titans yeahyeah, our blue Terran, and his opponent in our bottom right is BuBble's DroneOfArc, our red Zerg. Both players are currently in Diamond, however, both of them have repeatedly placed in Masters in previous ladders, so I would not be surprised to say that this was probably going to be a Masters level play, and both people are on their way up that ladder. It's fine. It happens. It happens. You know, you get placed in those lower things. I think the highest you can get placed in anything is Platinum right now, but eventually you make your way up to Masters, and you just kind of sit pretty with your peers. And these are two ships passing each other in the night. It's very romantic. Titan is throwing down his... Oh yeah, we're on Newkirk Precinct, the brand new Newkirk Precinct. I don't want to talk about Supply Depot. Supply Depot is boring. We'll wait for the barracks, wait for the refinery, wait for gas time or something like that. But Newkirk Precinct, brand new doodad, because this is a reworking of the map. We have those medium ramps coming from the fourths down into that common ground, which is brand new. They took away the Xel'Naga Watchtower because it was cool, and we don't like cool things. But this tertiary pathway is really neat. It kind of makes the whole map a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more secondary or tertiary pathways into each other's bases, making it so that you can kind of avoid the choke now. Newkirk Precinct used to be you take a Xel'Naga Watchtower and then you park something up here and you could completely cut this map in half. Now with 3 different pathways, now with supplemental space underneath the main, it's a lot harder to take and hold all these places and kind of cut off the map and turtle up. I like it. I really do like it. The refinery going down super early, finishing before the barracks is going to start mining that gas up, meaning this is probably going to be a Reaper opening coming out of yeahyeah just because of that early gas timing, but not so early that we see some sort of a factory rush or something like that. DroneOfArc's drone gets in there, sees everything that's going on. We can see it's a hatch first coming out of DroneOfArc, and he's just now throwing down that spawning pool. SCV Scout from yeahyeah coming out, which is kind of weird because this is a Reaper opening, meaning that Reaper is going to be seconds behind. It's going to be able to see everything, but this SCV can be life-saving whenever you're up against some sort of very early pressure. Newkirk Precinct is a very large map, so that pressure would be nigh suicidal, especially if your opponent is competent enough to get up some sort of wall off back at home, but it's definitely not unheard of. The Reaper moving out, we see a bunker going down right next to the hatchery, so aha, yeahyeah's true plans have indeed unfolded before our eyes. The bunker right next to hatchery is really not going to be worth anything as long as DroneOfArc doesn't overreact, and I don't think he is. Yeah, it's cool to pull these 4 drones, but DroneOfArc got in there and he saw that refinery was up. He saw how much it had mined. It's pretty obvious that a Reaper opening was indeed going to happen. So that bunker really isn't a threat too much. I mean, a Reaper can only do too much damage. It looks like, oh, beautiful control there. Keeping the single drone that was being targeted down by yeahyeah alive by morphing it into an extractor. I would not be surprised to see that gets canceled in a short amount of time. It looks like the other 2 drones are going to go down. Unfortunately, there are not 4 gas geysers for those drones to use as a shelter against that Reaper, but no, it looks like that guy did finish. Oh, look at that. That extractor did indeed finish. The Reaper forcing himself in and out of that bunker, trying to focus down the Zerglings and the Queen, but with the bunker already down 150 health, it's probably not long for the world, especially with the Reaper not there to defend it. The Zergling is going to chase him down, but with another Queen to defend this this main's mineral line, I really don't see how much more we can expect from our Reaper buddy. He is going to be moseying back on home. 4 kills, definitely cost effective, even if you factor in the bunker as lost resources. It looks like maybe it was salvaged with 76. That would be the 75 that you get back for salvaging. Or regardless, I mean, a Queen really can't DPS on something so fast that you can't really salvage it back. But no, the Reaper goes down, getting way too greedy. Even a cancel on the Spine Crawler, so very cool play. DroneOfArc's going to be sitting pretty. It looks like with both geysers being totally empty, either DroneOfArc is intending on doing some sort of timing attack. He's got the metabolic boost coming up. He's got 18 Zerglings on the way. Or the other thing is thinking about taking a 3rd in a very short period of time. He's got the money, but with 18 Zerglings, it's pretty obvious he's going to be poking in here for to do some damage. Command center up on the high ground, morphing into the orbital command center. We see the armory also being constructed, which is a really cool play, especially with the factory being taking advantage of the reactor that's left alive. And, you know, that's going to be awesome. Once that armory's done, we're going to see some Hellbats out, which is really going to be saving Titans, or yeahyeah's butt, because The bunker is totally empty. We don't have any Marines on the field right now to use that bunker. A single Widow Mine's not going to be able to hold back this huge swell of Zerglings. Going to be poking. Really great play there by DroneOfArc, only sacrificing 3 Zerglings to see exactly if there was a Widow Mine there. And now with 40 seconds to go, it looks like this bunker is going to go down like no one else's business. This natural is not saturated, but both of those SCVs are going to go down in a very short period of time. Oh no, 3! Oh, the bad transfer. 4 more SCVs are exposed to these Zerglings, but they are distracted right now, partially due to the wall off, which is looks like that supply depot on the far right corner is going to go down, but also one of the Hellions get caught behind the mineral field. It goes down. Another one, oh, he's trying to bait them into the Widow Mine. The Widow Mine is ready to discharge. It goes, but it takes out the Hellion to boot. Oh no, the Orbital Command is in half health. It's getting targeted down by those Zerglings. The other ones are going to town on the factory, and it looks like the factory is producing Hellions instead of Hellbats, which is great. I mean, they're going to be able to kite around those Zerglings too, and it looks like they're not going to have any issues taking them down, even though one of them is indeed in the red health. The Orbital Command only has 600 hit points left, but with the SCVs accompanying the Hellions, I think they're going to be able to target them down, but at the cost of all those SCVs. Final one gets roasted down on the ground, but wow, 13 workers killed for just a paltry 600 resources worth of Zerglings. This is absolutely brutal. Great play by DroneOfArc, and yeahyeah is going to be feeling it because a third is on the way. Going to be popping out in just a couple of seconds. We see a medevac. We see a Hellbat, duo of Hellbats going to be popping out. So yeahyeah is definitely going to be relying upon this drop to do damage. And I mean, let's be honest. If there's a single drop in the game, it's going to be able to get back after taking a blow like that. It's going to be a Hellbat drop. And what do we have as far as defense back at home? A single Spine Crawler. I do not understand the Evo Chamber and Roach Warren placement. I mean, it's far better to get like a single Creep Tumor spread over here and then use the 2 Evo Chambers as kind of a pseudo wall off, making the choke just a little bit more narrow, but whatever. I don't see any static defense here to protect the hatchery, so that Hellbat drop is actually going to be doing quite a lot of damage if it does get in there, and those Hellbats are out. Where's the medevac? Oh, there it is. I guess they were rallied down by the main ramp. What I was saying over here is this is a wall, but it's not protecting anything. You have a way off to the north, way off down to the side, and it's within range of the hatchery, so I guess maybe it would split a Terran Bioforce in half, but that's it. If you push this forward just a little bit, then you could really repel a lot of a Hellion run-bys, which is something that I would be afraid of just because of what I've seen. 13 drones on the way, 4 Spine Spore Crawlers, but they're not done yet. Not done in time to stop the Hellbat drop. The Hellbat's going down in the center of the main. Oh no, roasting away all those drones. It looks like, oh, that the medevacs were all loaded. The medevac was loaded with the 2 Hellbats and only had 2 hit points, but the Queen couldn't snipe it down before the Hellbats indeed drop out. The Roaches are on scene and have succeeded in cleaning up those Hellbats, but my goodness, the 13 workers killed is now equalized by 10 workers killed for Titans, so he is back in this game. 38 over 65 Harvesters, but remember the third has been taken. Oh, another drop going on. The medevac goes down, being sniped by the Spore Crawler and the Queen working together, but those Hellbats, since they're on the ground, they still do quite a lot of damage. 17 workers killed now. Oh my goodness. DroneOfArc is definitely, I mean, I would say that equalized it. I don't feel like DroneOfArc is behind now. I mean, he's got his third. He's got this ridiculous Overlord spread. Look at that. He's going to totally see any sort of drop that could possibly be coming his way. He's got Spine on the way. He's got 2-2 on the way. This is definitely still anybody's game. But that Hellbat drop did worlds to get yeahyeah back into it, because no one's going to argue with me if I tell you that he was behind after that initial strike. Another Hellbat drop is in the works, but it looks like yeahyeah is making motions like he wants to take a third. He's got the command center being constructed up on the high ground. Combat shield on the way. I think he's already got stim, doesn't he? Yeah, he's got stim. Excellent. Also +2, what? +2 Terran vehicle. I don't understand that at all. I mean, he's got +1 on the way also, but I would love to see some armor. He's investing quite a lot into this Bioforce, but it looks like it's going to be like a Hellbat Marauder mix. I've seen this. This works really, really well, especially if you can commit to the drops. Basically, you're getting the best of both worlds. You have the Hellbats to deal with anything that could possibly get a surround on you, and they do so much damage when you're up close. And then you have the Marauders and their capability of dealing with any of the Roaches, which are really the Zerg's main defensive mechanism against the Hellbats. So really nice duality. However, it definitely is weak because a lot of your infrastructure has to be pulled in 2 different directions. There's not a lot of flexibility here. Here goes that surround I was talking about, the Hellbats having absolutely no issues mopping up those Zerglings. The Roaches are left, but 12 Roaches on the production tab. Only a handful of Marauders are left alive. If those Roaches do get out there, oh, the drones! Oh no, the drones! The drones go down in a blaze of glory, and man, this is an intimidating force pushing forward. It looks like the third totally would have gone down, but I think yeahyeah is going for the jugulars, trying to push in there, make his way into that natural. However, he's overextended himself. The Roaches are coming in and are eventually going to mop up all those Marauders, and those Hellbats are forced to load up and retreat very quickly. A fourth has been constructed, but is not saturated. 13 Mutalisks going to be popping out any second now, and cool thing about Marauders and Hellbats is they don't shoot up. So it looks like they're going to be going down. I don't think they have enough DPS to actually succeed in taking down that hatchery, especially with the Roaches being factored into that equation. Those Mutalisks are going to do a world of good for DroneOfArc. He's going to be able to breathe a sigh of relief. He's going to be able to lock down the drop play that could be coming out from yeahyeah. And what can yeahyeah do? Well, obviously he wants to keep getting medevacs, but he might have to start producing some extra Marines in order to keep those medevacs alive. Vikings aren't out of the question. However, I think just given the infrastructure back at home, we can see the 5 Marines are being produced right now. Marines are probably your best bet to deal with these Mutalisks, and they trade so very, very well, especially with the static defenses going up, probably to protect back at home. It looks like yeahyeah is going to have to sack his third, which really sucks for him. However, he did quite a lot of damage in that first strike. I mean, 36 workers killed. I did not want to open that tab. 36 workers killed, definitely intimidating. This is also an intimidating force. Lots of Marines being supported by those medevacs. So these Mutalisks are going to have to indent themselves at just kind of pecking away at the exterior. Oh, got to be careful with that Widow Mine, picking off one of the Mutalisks and forcing the other ones to retreat so they can regenerate. Oh man, 1, 2, 3. 2 or 3 of those medevacs did indeed go down, but once again, Terran's on a 2-base economy. He needs to get that third. He needs to push out and feel confident enough to actually take that. And this is really, really weird. The Hellbat production has stopped completely. He switched 100% over to, I guess, Thors for added AoE, but without those Hellbats, he's really going to have to start getting up the armor research, because his Terran bubble is going to be easy to pop. Those Marines and those Marauders really aren't as durable as you would expect without that +2 and +3 armor upgrade, and he initially was going to be relying on those Hellbats in order to hold back the surround from those Zerglings and those heavy DPS units, but without them, he's definitely going to have to double down on that, and indeed he has started that +1 as he is being forced to make that switch just due to the Mutalisk threat, which is very threatening. It's very intimidating. On the other side of things, we can see the swarm hosts have been constructed. Oh man, this is a juicy target for a drop, man. This could be absolutely devastating if Terran made it in there and actually managed to snipe off any of those structures. I hate it whenever people just kind of stack all of their high technology structures all around their hive, and hive is also on the way. Did I mention that? Hive. Whoa, 10 more swarm hosts. We saw 5 on the production tab just a couple of seconds ago. This is going to be incredibly slow. Well, let's be honest, the swarm hosts are not the fastest attacking units in the world, but it's also going to make it so yeahyeah is forced to exchange unfavorably. I mean, swarm hosts can be thrown away, but there's absolutely nothing in here like a siege tank that can keep those swarm hosts in check without losing something. I mean, those Marines, they don't have the armor upgrades. They're going to melt away to those swarm hosts, especially whenever you're talking about 15 swarm hosts. Mutalisks still being pretty ballsy. It looks like a couple of the overlords were picked off by the Marines, but all that does is gives the Mutalisks enough heads up to get out of town so that they're not targeted off. Oh no, this swarm host is like, I'll lead the charge, buddy. No, he did not lead the charge. He died. Ultralisk Cavern also going up, but the Terran Bio Army is beginning to push forward. It looks like these swarm hosts are caught totally unprotected. There's nothing to protect them at all. 2 of them do indeed go down, but they make their way onto the creep. Oh, they burrow right in front of the... Oh, this is absolutely brutal. Those swarm hosts are so expensive. He wanted them to be a lot more cost effective. Given half a chance, they would have been. But with the Roaches and Zergling finally attacking the other swarm hosts, Locusts pushing in and finally getting a surround on them. The magic box goes down on the Thor. Oh no, the Mutalisks overextend just a little bit and do not magic box the Thor, but it leaves the Zerglings and Roaches enough time to take them out. Those Roaches do not have glial reconstitution, do they? No, they're very slow. Very slow indeed, but we have the adrenal gland, so those Zerglings are going to be incredibly fast, as well as 3-3, if I believe I'm right. Yeah, 2-2 on the way, or is done. +3 ground weapons is on the way. We don't see 3 armor. Oh, yeah, we do. Chitinous plating is also done, right? Nope. No Chitinous plating, but we have the Ultralisk Cavern out, so we should be seeing that relatively shortly. The man, look at that flight of Zerglings moving far afield. The siege tanks are also being constructed slowly but surely, just due to the imminent threat of those swarm hosts, and it looks like that Widow Mine has been discharged already, but the siege tanks really have their work cut out for them to try to keep these swarm hosts at bay. Looks like a drop going off into the top right hand side. Zerg is up on 4 bases. That 5th base is probably going to go down. Just not sheer enough Zerglings to clean up this drop, it doesn't seem. No? Yeah, he's not picking them up, especially when supported by 2 different medevacs. That hatchery does indeed go down, but immediately reconstructed a little bit closer to the center, a little bit closer to those swarm hosts, as well as the creep, making it so that those Zerglings and Banelings can quickly support that hatchery, keep them at bay. It looks like the drop is actually continuing, going off into the top right hand side, but I think this drop might have bit off more than it can chew. Where are those Zerglings? We just saw a buttload of Zerglings, but no, they're in the center of the field kind of derping around with the swarm hosts. Some of them actually being brought along with them by the swarm host, but that hatchery is in half health, and DroneOfArc definitely needs to do a better job of keeping these guys alive, and it looks like this is our holdup. Those slow roaches, even on creep, are barely keeping up with the drop as it's pushing around. It looks like the queen is going to go down, unable to discharge a single last larva inject, but the swarm host siege continues, even though their numbers have been stunted back down to just 8. The Mutalisks trying to get off 1 or 2 lucky pot shots on a medevac. Oh, that medevac goes down. It was totally full. A brutal loss for yeahyeah. But man, the chitinous plating is now finally done for those Ultralisks. They still don't have +3, right? No? Yeah, they got 3 armor. Okay, so they have 6 armor total. And those Ultralisks are going to be incredibly intimidating. We don't have the huge numbers just yet. 4 of them is still very intimidating, and even whenever supported by fully upgraded Zerglings of that sheer number, really DroneOfArc is just waiting for an opportunity to strike, and I think that opportunity is actually presenting itself up here in the form of this 4th base. The siege tanks are kind of tethered down here to the 3rd near the economy, but DroneOfArc just needs to push in and sandwich this planetary fortress, maybe forcing a unsiege of those siege tanks, and then he'd be able to push down into the 3rd and crush them. But that would require a lot of good scouting. Regardless, he'd be able to take out this expansion, so I think that this is a nice juicy target, and he might agree. Pushing up there with his swarm hosts, maybe seeing if he can force a reposition of these siege tanks. I don't think the swarm hosts are going to be enough to take down that planetary fortress just yet, but regardless, it's a good play. It's forcing yeahyeah to split up his attention, keeping him kind of distracted so that he can't afford to waste a bunch of APM, maybe doing drops, because, you know, let's be honest, Zerg has a lot of bases that are very delicate and very exposed to drops. Oh, the Banelings, brutal play here from DroneOfArc, pushing in with his swarm host locusts, which do quite a lot of damage to that planetary. However, when it's being repaired, they didn't have a hope in cleaning them up, so DroneOfArc pushes in with a bunch of Banelings, gets just a brutal hit on all of those SCVs that were repairing the planetary fortress, and ultimately comes out a winner against a very tough nut to crack, which is that planetary fortress. Oh man, couple of medevacs pushing forward, trying to get a drop on top of the swarm host. However, the last handful of Mutalisks, only 3 of them remaining alive, were there to intercept those medevacs, forcing a very, very quick retreat and buying enough time for the Ultralisks to come and save those swarm hosts. And man, the number of Ultralisks slowly beginning to rise. We're up to like 8 now. That's going to be a very, very powerful force. We're at 200 over 200. Really, just the upgrades are coming in. Greater Spire has been constructed, but we don't have any supply right now that DroneOfArc can waste on a bunch of corruptors. Maybe get out those Broodlords. Broodlord Ultralisk is going to be the next thing. I guarantee it. Yeah, we're probably going to see a bunch of Harvesters being sacked. He's at 85 right now, and that's great, but look at this bank. He does not need 85. He could probably afford to lose half of them, go down to like a 2-base economy just to maintain and really up the pressure, make it so he's got a brutal stranglehold, sacrificing these roaches to the top left-hand side just to see if there was an expansion. These guys were probably instructed to push down, eventually meeting their death there. But with the knowledge that that strike force exists, all these Zerglings are going to be sweeping in. Is going to be doing a great job, not only cleaning up and freeing up a bunch of supply for some infestors as well as some corruptors being produced, but also distracting and keeping that that medevac and marine strike force away from over here, which would be a significantly more delicate expansion, something that Zerg needs so that he can fall back and continue into the mid and late game. Here goes that strike force, though, and man, they are completely unscouted right now. Going to be exposing themselves. There goes the stem, trying to make their way down into the hatchery. However, an infestor and a handful of Zerglings buy enough time for the Ultralisks and Zerglings to come back, but there's no anti-air in this unit composition, so those medevacs are going to have a field day trying to get away from all that huge swarm on the ground forces. But remember, there's a handful of corruptors that are out on the field right now, so they're going to be hunting for medevacs, and it looks like the static defenses are definitely going to be buying enough time. There's a handful of corruptors. Cool. A little bit of a skirmish going on here, but those Ultralisks have overextended themselves into the siege tank line. Now it looks like they're going to have to retreat. The retreating Marines and Marauders eventually making their way onto the creep, but with the hot pickup again from the medevacs, good unit control from both players. Yeahyeah is definitely making it so it is incredibly hard for DroneOfArc to actually push in here cost effectively. If DroneOfArc wanted to, he could probably sacrifice his entire force in order to take that third, but it would leave him incredibly exposed to all sorts of different harassment plays. Not really something he wants to do. I think he's actually sacking these Ultralisks, pushing in here, trying to take out the planetary fortress, but he really just needs supply so that he can get out a more intimidating air fleet and actually get those medevacs in check. I think that that's what is holding him back right now. If he could manage to take out a healthy chunk of these medevacs, we can see 8 of them right here. How many are out on the field right now? 7. I just counted 8. Okay, now there's 6. Whatever. People, they die. So there's 7 medevacs out on the field right now. All of them are kind of clustered right here, but this represents a huge possibility for drop play, and that's what yeahyeah is not doing right now. I mean, this main has 2 spores, and that's it to protect all the tech that Zerg has. A single drop medevac filled with Marauders could take out any one of those tech structures before DroneOfArc has a chance to blink an eye. And because of that, he's very exposed to this play, but because DroneOfArc is being so incredibly aggressive, forcing yeahyeah to invest fully every single ounce of military power he has in defending his third, yeahyeah does not have a chance, hasn't had a chance so far, in order to get out there and actually do something like a drop into an area that is, you know, significantly more delicate. Now that we've got the cost-effective units in the form of the Ravens out on the field, it looks like yeahyeah is eventually realizing that he's definitely not going to win the economic war, so he just needs to be super cost-effective. A bunch of Hunter-Killer missiles, or Hunter-Seeker missiles, or whatever they're called nowadays, going out. Looks like all those Broodlords are going to get cleaned up by those massive hits. A big investment there from DroneOfArc, but that's okay because he's got 8K, 7K saved up right now as far as the bank is concerned, immediately remaxing himself with 8 more Corruptors on the way, getting Hydralisks in just because. I mean, Hydralisks are cool, and that also is going to help him if he decides to replace these Swarm Hosts with a bunch of Hydralisks. He'll actually have some anti-air in order to clean up those Ravens, because that's definitely what his unit composition is missing. Another massive hit from those, and man, these guys are actually very, very weak right now. I mean, look at all that pretty colors, red and orange and the like. One more Hunter-Seeker missile on that would probably clean up the majority of those Swarm Hosts. Both players kind of derping around right now, I'm not going to lie. No one's really trying to kill anything significantly. yeahyeah every now and then gets the notion that he can actually afford to take an expansion, and DroneOfArc cleans that out because there's no siege tanks there to defend it. Really, the siege tanks are the only thing keeping this third alive. But the second those siege tanks decide to move, or the second yeahyeah decides to split up those siege tanks in order to defend 2 different expansions, DroneOfArc's just going to 1A into that base and totally crush them. In all honesty, I think yeahyeah is slowly not even letting an edge slip away, because he's never really had an edge in this fight. He has this enormous possibility for damage. He's got these medevacs, he's got these Marines, he's got these Marauders. He can get out there and actually do damage, but he's not, because he's too afraid. He's too intimidated by DroneOfArc's massive force right now. And that's just because DroneOfArc is really just being absolutely brutal. Here we go. A huge push. The Ultralisks get cleaned up almost entirely due to the siege tank line. The Infestors also pushing in. But that was a massive, massive fight, man. Those Ultralisks got cleaned completely up by all of these siege tanks. That is... Wow. And it happened in like 20 seconds. I mean, look at this guy. 60 kills, 32 kills, 32 kills. It was absolutely brutal. Those siege tanks shelling down so much damage. And DroneOfArc is just immediately remaxed. 200 over 200, 8 more Ultralisks on the production tab. Titan, yeahyeah, feels like now is the time for him to push out. However, everything on the ground's going to get immediately surrounded, and everything in the air is not going to be able to do any damage to the ground stuff, just because the Zerglings and Ultralisks are so fast they can outrange those hunter-killer missiles. And I think the majority of these Ravens are got to be running out of energy eventually. I mean, they've been throwing down those missiles pretty much constantly. Those Ultralisks, oh my goodness, the siege tank line is still very far forward, still very, very impenetrable, and incredibly cost effective, but I mean, there's really no money left. He's only got 3 mineral patches. Terran really is having a hard time remacroing at all. He's got no minerals left. He's got a lot of gas, but only capable of producing 1 Marauder at a time right now, because he's only got those 3 mineral patches left. Trying desperately to replace an orbital command on the bottom left-hand side to take that 4th, but the Ultralisks really, at this point, DroneOfArc just needs to stay alive for an extended period of time. He's got Terran exactly where he wants it to be. At any given time, he can move in here and kind of circumvent that siege tank line by this other pathway, which is heavily guarded by a bunch of spine crawlers, and crush that expansion. And with it goes the last small bit of economy. It looks like this command center is going to come down here and morph into a planetary fortress, just because this one's already an orbital command. But regardless, I mean, there's no economy for yeahyeah. He's totally boned right now. He put up a great show. I'm not going to lie. This was an absolutely fantastic game, and I feel like there's going to be a long time before all the Ravens get cleaned up, a long time before that siege tank line. Oh my goodness. This time the Ultralisks having nothing of it. The siege tanks just melt away from all those Ultralisks, finally pushing in here, having absolutely no problem just wrecking them now that he's been replaced all of his weakened Ultralisks after the initial half crushing of that siege tank line. The 3rd does indeed get cleaned up, but that's okay. There was no minerals there anyway. The 4th just it needs to be discovered in order for the Zerg to take it down, but I mean, in a couple of seconds that is not going to matter. It looks like this is going to be it. I guess our Terran buddy is just kind of waiting around for absolutely no reason, because there's no way he's going to win. I don't know, 70 over 187 supply. So things that yeahyeah could have done different. Like I said, drops are great, especially when you already have the infrastructure in place to drop. If you've got medevacs, there's no reason why you're not dropping. Even whenever your opponent has this like siege on you, you saw how effective those siege tanks were at keeping the swarm hosts at check. He didn't need every single one of those Marines, every single one of those medevacs kind of tethered right here. And look at all these bases. I mean, these bases really are exposed. You can drop in all sorts of different areas. You don't have to drop down by the mineral line. You can drop right here, stem your Marauders, push in here, and take out that hatchery. And that does a couple of things. It distracts DroneOfArc. It makes it so he's got to rebuild that hatchery. It's annoying, and he also has to react. He's got to pull back a handful of his Ultralisks, a handful of his Zerglings to actually clean that up. And then the boost for the medevac, so that medevac boost can mean that you can be from this base to this base in a matter of seconds, and you can also be shelling down a lot of damage on the infrastructure there. So I feel like that's underdone in this mid to late game. A lot of people think that drops are pretty much early mid-game only, just because that's how you win the game, is you go in with a drop and you do massive damage to the economy, and then you feel good about yourself and you win. But drop play in the late game is not designed to win. It's just designed to create possibilities. It's designed to make it so that you can open some doors, make it so that you can actually take that 4th. Make it so yeahyeah could kind of get enough money and actually do something later on. I love this play from the Ravens, but there's just not enough Ravens left alive in order to do enough damage to take out all this economy, especially with the infrastructure back at home going down. So both players are going to be tapping out sooner or later. Great game by DroneOfArc. Do you guys want to see the end of the game? Because we can just times 8 at GG. There we go. It was a good game. Come on. You can do it. I guess he's going to wait until this base is totally taken down for whatever reason. Hey, there we are. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you guys too. Thank you for watching. By the way, I just hit 50 subscribers on my channel, which is super cool. I'm excited about that. So yeah, thanks for that. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Ibigandscary. Bye.